Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Championship Night at Battleground. Today we have the title on the line. It's Cody going up against number one contender, James White. So let's dive right into it now. Let's introduce our challenger. He's coming in with a record of 4 wins and 0 losses. It is James the Gator White. James, how you feeling about your big match tonight?
Oh yeah, no, it's going to be a fun time. I know Cody's a formidable opponent, so I hope that I can just bring some good arguments and hopefully come out with a win here. But I know it's going to be a dog out, a drag out fight. It's not going to be easy by any means. Cody, like I said, he's the champ for a reason. So hopefully I can hang with him and put some points on the board. Come out of here with a W.
All right. Well, good luck to you. And introducing second, with a record of 6 wins and 0 losses. He is the undisputed Battlezone champion of the world. It is Cody Newberry. Cody, how are you feeling about the challenge you got in front of you tonight?
There's a thing about arguing and there's a thing about picking the correct answers. So that all comes into play when you're debating. You may have a game plan, but again, somebody can throw a curveball at you. I'm well prepped. I'm ready to go. Again, I have more off time than people that get to come up and challenge, so they get a fresh match. My last match was in Brooklyn like 4 months ago. So at this point, I haven't had like an actual championship movie battleground match in a while. So we'll see. Anything can happen. James is a good guy. I've seen his matches. I've seen his fights. Yeah, he can definitely put some points on the board. But again, there's 3 judges. We'll see what happens.
All right. Well, before we get started, let me introduce you to 3 men who have the sacred burden of deciding who's going to win this match tonight. Real quick, guys, because we want to get into it, but Thomas, your thoughts on the championship fight?
This is going to be a great match. I know Cody's coming in here 6-0, never lost. He's the undisputed champion. He's defended the belt, 5 times now? So this is going to be a great match. And then with James coming in 4-0, he's never lost either. So something's got to give. Somebody's got to come out with that loss tonight. But we'll see what's going to happen. We got 5 great questions, 10 great answers. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Joe, give me your thoughts real quick.
Thomas said everything that I was going to say, just better worded. Yep, someone's going to get their first loss tonight. And great questions, great answers, 2 great competitors. It's cold outside, so hopefully this match can warm me up.
And finally, Caleb Coho, our 3rd judge.
I wasn't even supposed to be here today. No, it's gonna be good.
All right, everybody here knows what they're doing, but for the viewers, we'll go through the rules real quick. We have a championship match, so it is 5 rounds to a finish. Each competitor will get a 90-second opening statement. We will have a 5-minute battle, followed by 60-second closings. Judges, you know the deal. Get your preconceived notions, your own biases out the door. We are basing this just solely on the arguments we're going to hear today, and I know we're going to hear 5 great ones. So let's get it started right now. Cody, you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
James, are you ready?
Let's go.
All right, let's enter the battleground. Question number 1. In the category of animated, what was the best DreamWorks animation film of the 2000s? And Cody, as a champion, we'll start with you.
The best one, there's a lot of good choices of DreamWorks, actually. Probably later, but the one I had to go with was the one that took its original, threw it pretty much away, and created a superior film, and that would be Shrek 2. Shrek 2 takes everything you get in Shrek 1, which is beautiful, a wonderful, cute, tiny story, adds actually a world to it, elevates it, brings in side characters, and actually has heart. Like, there's a love story in the first one, but this is actually an elevated love story. It's put to the test. The characters' relationships throughout the entire group are put to the test. So yeah, I think Shrek 2 is by far the superior DreamWorks film of the 2000s. I'm done.
All right, thank you, Cody. And James, will move on to you for your opening argument. Best DreamWorks of the 2000s.
Yeah, well, me and Cody were really close to being on the same page here because Shrek is the best DreamWorks film of the 2000s. However, it's Shrek 1 and not Shrek 2. Shrek 1 establishes this world and these characters that you learn to love in that film, and it's such a tight woven script. Every character gets their moments. Every character gets a character arc throughout the entire film, and you don't get bombarded with all these small side characters that you get in Shrek 2. Shrek 2 introduces too many people, and you don't really get a lot of time with any of them to really get a feel for who they are, and they don't get a chance to really grow throughout the film. Shrek 1, you have a focused script, a very tight and meaningful story, and it has so much great satire, and it flips so many of the fairy tale stories on their heads and puts in a different spin to it. Whereas in Shrek 2, you get bombarded with a bunch of pop culture references, and you get bombarded with songs that are just so out of place, but you don't get that in the first film nearly as much. Shrek 1 is a much more tight film. Shrek 2 is a cash grab that just kind of piggybacks on the strength of Shrek 1.
All right, guys, we're looking a little Shrek on Shrek action. So whenever you guys are ready, start your fight, and we have our 5 minutes general fight time.
Hey, that's real cute, James. Try to use that the characters or get their own showtime. Yeah, you remember that whole trail of the three characters, Donkey, Fiona, and Shrek, spend half the movie away from everybody, and the characters are just at the swamp every once in a while. Actually, Shrek leads the group of people that are left at the swamp in the second one to actually have a mission in that one. You're talking about side characters that have too much. The fairy godmothers introduced in this one is arguably one of the best villains in any animated movie ever, and Puss in Boots, which is one of the greatest side characters ever, and adds to Donkey's relationship with that buddy cop relationship that they form in this movie. So you're saying that mine is underwhelming, yours is a tight knit. Plus, you said songs that are out of place. Yours uses All-Star at the beginning of it. Tell me the last time you heard All-Star played anywhere. Yeah, talk about dated references. Yours is that movie.
No, All-Star is played constantly, and what's the first thing you think of when you think of All-Star? You think of Shrek. I hear All-Star all the time, unfortunately. It's not a great song, but it's in a great movie. And yes, you're introduced to the fairy godmother, but the fairy godmother is a forgettable character. When you think of Shrek villains, you don't think of the fairy godmother. You think of Lord Farquaad and what John Lithgow brings to that character. He is such a fantastic villain. He was underutilized a little bit, but he is not a forgettable character, whereas the fairy godmother is. When you think of a Shrek villain, the first place your brain goes to is to Lord Farquaad, not to the fairy godmother. And yes, the characters in the first movie, they get a full character arc. You go from being this ugly duckling that realizes who he is and that he can be himself. It's not about changing who you are. It's about being yourself, and the people that will love you for who you are will find you.
Yeah, so my movie does that. Sorry, I have to real touch it real quick. Fairy Godmother's a forgettable character, and then you just tried to say that yours was underused in your movie. Not a great selling point of your character being better than my character. My character is actually vicious, evil. Actually turned Shrek to not see the beauty in his own wife, and then he has to learn to battle back. The only thing about your movie does is set up all my stuff, and then mine hits out of the park. The only thing you can say about my movie or about your movie being better is yours started it. Mine hit it. Like the songs, the characters, Prince Charming's in this one, and this is the problem with yours. This one introduces so many more characters, and they're actually able to establish them and actually have an arc throughout those characters. The group of fairy tale characters that are used as side points, as the people that invade the swamp that you don't get anything in the first one, they're actually lead the charge against the fairy godmother and help Shrek with Puss in Boots and fairy godmother. Yours literally is most known for, I'm making waffles. Let's be real.
No, it's known for way more than that. And what your movie does is take all the story beats and all of the accomplishments that the first movie does and just reiterates them. You just rehash the same things. So Shrek and Fiona find each other, and one of them doesn't feel secure in the relationship. So the second one, Shrek and Fiona, one of them doesn't feel secure in the relationship. It's the same story beats, just repeated over and over. And Shrek 2 is such a forgettable movie. When you think of Shrek movies, when you think of all the memes, when you think of all the quotes, you don't think of anything from Shrek 2. You think of all the stuff from Shrek 1. You know, ogres are like onions. You're thinking, I'm making waffles. You're thinking about Eat Me, or the gingerbread man, or going to Duloc and singing the Duloc song. That's the things that everybody remembers from Shrek, not the stuff from Shrek 2. Shrek 2 is forgettable.
if this was what is the best movie turned into memes, you'd have this by a landslide. Mine's an actual movie, and that's the nature of the question.
Well, the reason that I'm bringing up memes is because it's establishes that my movie is well remembered and well
what
loved.
you don't fail about my relationship, the love relationship, is actually there is a father relationship that you learn that he sent his daughter away, and that him and Shrek battle each other the entire movie to the affection of the daughter. She doesn't realize why she was sent away, and they have to go through that arc. And that actual relationship is put to the test than yours. Yours is a setup where they end up falling in love. Mine is the love that's put to the test, which is not a trope. It's an actual fantastic point of Shrek 2 that people actually fall in love with, because Shrek and Fiona could have walked away from that relationship. You don't like my dad, I don't like you for your looks. And they actually don't need that. They actually need each other because looks don't matter, and the love that they have matters. And that's the beautiful thing about Shrek. And even Donkey has a better relationship in this one with the dragon. That's fantastic, which shouldn't work, but actually works really well.
No. And look, what happens in Shrek 2 is that the entire message of Shrek 1 about being who you are is completely flipped, and it's thrown aside. Shrek changes himself in order to be better, and he didn't change himself back on purpose. He changed himself back because the potion wouldn't last. And it's not like he made a second chance. It's not like he had a second shot. It's a redundant. It's a time capsule movie.
The story in Toy Story 2, and it's a better movie. So
that's time, gentlemen. That's your 5 minutes. So we will move on now to your. We have a 60-second closing, and Cody, we started with you at the opening. So, James, let's go to you. Let me get my timer set here. All right, you have 1 minute whenever you start talking.
Like I said, Shrek 2 is a redundant film. It takes the same story beats as the first one and just repeats them over and over again. But the problem is it doesn't have good jokes. The first movie establishes characters and establishes a great story, and the film drives the jokes that are told during the film. In Shrek 2, it's all about hitting you with jokes over and over again, and the jokes drive the story, whereas in the first film, the story drives the jokes, and that's what you want in a good film, and that's what makes a good film. The entire plot, the entire crux of what Shrek is about being yourself, and people will love you for yourself, is changed in Shrek 2, and it's not changed for a good way. It throws all the meaningless out for that movie. It's a time capsule of that period in time. You see Timberlake, and you see all these stupid little pop culture references that pop up all over the place, and that's exactly what it is in Far, Far Away. It's not smart humor. It's not satire like you get in the first one. The first film is satirizing fairy tale stories. The second one is just bashing you over the head with pop culture and fart jokes, and they're the same fart jokes that you already heard.
And time. Okay, Cody, whenever you're ready, we will start your 60 seconds.
You still don't hit on any of the things in Shrek 2 that make that movie great. Puss in Boots and Fairy Godmother, like I said, actually has a vengeful point. And yes, in Shrek 1, you do not get to see the thing because I love you for who you are. Guess what? Fairy Godmother's not in the first one. That doesn't give him the powers to actually change into be a good-looking human being. So that makes the change right there. When he's locked out of the castle and he has to battle his way back in to find the love of his life, that's romantic. That's heart. And the side characters that you're saying is a satire are side plots put into the swamp to make Shrek go on his adventure that we don't get to talk to, see from, or anything for 45 minutes of the movie. You're talking about mine being a hit from the time. Your songs is dated 2000 songs throughout the entire movie. It's a fart jokes constantly. The humor is elevated into my movie. That's the problem with the pick in your choice. The only thing is good about your movie really is it set up my characters to be better in the second one. Overall, Puss in Boots, Fairy Godmother, those characters have still stood the test of time, and better songs throughout my movie. That's another thing that Shrek 2 is great because they're able to sing throughout.
And time. All right, judges, we're going to take it over to you. Shrek 1 or Shrek 2? Thomas, this round, let's start with you. Which direction are you leaning?
I'm going to have to lean towards Cody on this one, simply because the fact that I don't like it came down to the rebuttals for me. I thought Cody hit on a lot of weak points in James's arguments. He definitely made the argument why Shrek was the more was a deeper, more complex film, and how they were able to utilize those side characters much more than in the first one. I don't think James was able to hit back on any of Cody's strong points against Shrek. So yeah, I'm gonna have to lean towards Cody on this one. I thought James's rebuttals were more deflections instead of actual rebuttals. So I'm gonna go towards Cody on this first question.
All right, that's 1 for Cody and Shrek 1. Coho, let's go next to you next.
I'm not
Give
going
us your thoughts.
I'm not going to have anything original to say now because Thomas literally took the word deflection out of my mouth. So,
Sorry,
yeah, thanks, Thomas. But I think Cody did a really good job of attacking Shrek, and I didn't hear enough of a defense of Shrek. Whereas I heard a lot of attacks on Shrek 2, and Cody did a really good job of defending Shrek 2, whereas all I heard were a lot of, to steal your word now, deflections of the arguments that were being thrown at Shrek. So I would give my point to Cody as well.
Okay, point number 1 goes to Cody. Let's move into round 2. In the category of comedy, what is the worst Adam Sandler movie from the last 5 years?
Well,
And
technically, it's worst movie of Adam Sandler's. Just to let you know, that's what they changed the question on us.
Okay, worst Adam Sandler movie. Worst.
I think we still qualify for the original, though.
I think so too. But
I think so.
Sure.
I don't know.
All right, so James, this time we'll start with you whenever you're ready. Your 90 seconds will start.
Look, we have a lot to choose from when we're picking the worst Adam Sandler movie. Unfortunately, he made so many great movies in the 90s and then just fell apart completely. However, if we're going to pick the worst movie, the one that is absolute garbage, the one that has no redeeming qualities, it has to be The Ridiculous Six. This god-awful travesty of a movie that they put on Netflix because no studios wanted anything to do with them anymore. And it has nothing about it that's anything you could consider to be a plus. There's no real good performances. There's no story that's any decent. It has nothing but just shit jokes and racial stereotypes and a lot of really, really casual racism and some very overt racism in this movie. There's nothing good about it whatsoever. Adam Sandler is just cashing in, or just collecting a check. He's just phoning it in. It's an absolute bomb of a movie. It was a waste of 2 hours of my life. Yes, this movie is 2 hours long. Why? It has nothing good about it, like I've said, and I will continue to argue in our main round. I will concede the rest of my time to Cody.
All right. Cody, you're up whenever you're ready.
Yeah, there's a lot of choices. One clear one that was said before, but I took worst in a totally different manner. Mine affects a worldwide epidemic. I'm talking about the 2015 wonderful film Pixels. Yes, Pixels, that had potential to actually be an actual good movie. This movie had potential. The premise, everything else, the casting and every other decision led up to it, awful. We have what's his name? Kevin James as our president of the United States, and they are called to bring in the best video game players, yes, a 40-year-old, to come and play classic games to destroy the alien invasion. This movie doesn't even attempt to be a good movie at any point. They literally bring in Peter Dinklage and call him the Fire Blaster, and he makes obscene sexual references to everybody. There is literally, at the end of this movie, a set up threesome between Martha Stewart and Serena Williams and Peter Dinklage. Yeah, that's just in my movie. Again, mine went to the box office. People had to pay money and actually sit through the theater and watch this. So the worst is what I'm saying is this. Mine is worst because mine actually got put into a studio. Mine got actually sent to theaters. People actually walked in on date nights and paid it, and it did not do well, but it made money, and that's sad. There are people living in poverty because they went to Pixels that night and their entire lives changed, and I will talk the rest later.
And time. All right, whenever you're ready, we'll start your 5 minutes.
Look, Pixels is not a god-awful movie. Pixels has potential, like you said. Pixels had promise. Pixels has a lot of fun sequences in it. The video game sequences in New York and when you see Pac-Man going through the street, that's actually a really fun sequence. And it has some really, really great special effects. Whereas in The Ridiculous Six, you have absolutely nothing. There's nothing redeeming about that. It's a comedy that I laughed negative times on. I was groaning through this movie. It hurt my soul. It hurt my brain. I didn't want to watch more than 10 minutes of it, but I forced myself to because I always finish a movie. And there was nothing from beginning to end that was worth my time. It was absolute garbage. You have 3-4 different times where a burrow just projectile shits over a wall and onto a person. This is really funny stuff. You know, Rob Schneider is playing a Mexican person in brownface. This is an offensive movie. It's not just a bad movie. It's offensive, and it's offensively bad, and it hurts my soul.
But here's the issue with Ridiculous Six. If we're saying, like, what's the worst movie of all time, we pick a straight-to-DVD comedy, sure, maybe that would be the worst one. Mine actually affected the actual population of the country that actually had to drive somewhere, sit in the theater, and watch a movie. Yours, actually, you could just hit the home button and go get the hell out of the movie at any point in time. That movie does not make that the worst movie. That movie was
stand up and walk out of the theater, too.
Yes, but you already drove there. You paid money. You sat down. You were sitting on your couch. You could have picked Taxi Driver that's on there. No, you picked Ridiculous Six. That's your own problem. Ridiculous Six never showed any promise to being actually considered. This was already at the super decline of his movies. This is the movie that he actually had a shot to bring back his shot, and it's worse from all levels. There's no good CGI in this movie. I am sorry. I don't know. I do not know what you're watching. Oh, because they shoot bright green up in the sky and you think that's pretty for somebody? Literally, they have Peter Dinklage running around grabbing people and saying sexual things. Josh Gad's in this movie. Why? Who knows? They bring all these different characters in to make the premise. The premise doesn't work. Your movie actually pays off. Actually, if I went in to watch a movie called The Ridiculous Six, congratulations. I think I saw your movie, because The Ridiculous is what that movie tries to be, and it commits to be an over-the-top slapstick comedy the entire time. And that comedy doesn't hit for you, but that's what they set up. This movie actually set up a premise that didn't pay off. So when you say that my movie's worse, or your movie's worse, no, they hit the goal. That's just not your comedy. Mine was actually a sci-fi movie that could have been this generation's Ghostbusters, and they shit all over the bed on it.
Yeah, but the question isn't what's the most disappointing movie. The question is the worst movie. And mine is clearly the worst of these movies. There's not a single... Yeah, but it's a debate. That's the thing. Look, it's a great cast. You're talking about the people that were involved with the Ridiculous Six. You have Harvey Keitel in this movie. You have Nick Nolte in this movie. You have John Turturro in this movie, and they can't even get one scene to work. There's nothing good about it. It's just packed with nothing but potty humor, and it's not funny. There's not a single laugh in the entire thing. But the thing is, there's one fairly good performance, and that's wrapped around all these shitty ones, so it's not even a good performance, but Taylor Lautner. And when Taylor Lautner is the one good performance in your movie, you know you have a really bad movie. And Pixels, Kevin James as the president is a ridiculous thing, but he is actually not bad in that movie. And Peter Dinklage, he commits to that. He commits to it 100%, and you might not like some of the lines that were written for him, but he's actually very good in his performance in that movie.
Well, I think it's very interesting that you actually pointed out a great performance in your movie out of a total shit movie. Mine doesn't have a redeeming quality. I do not believe
I just said Peter Dinklage.
You said so. I disagree 100%. The problem with your movie that you're stating as, I think is not the worst movie. Yours is just not your type of comedy. That movie is supposed to be comedy. That movie is supposed to be over the top. That movie is supposed to be stupid. That movie is supposed to be potty humor, ridiculous jokes. It's called The Ridiculous Six, and you're going in looking for a freaking Oscar-winning comedy. That's not going to happen from a Ridiculous Six movie. Pixels literally sets up sci-fi elements that could be brilliant throughout the entire movie, and they don't hit on any of those elements. The performances are sloppy. The jokes don't land for mine, but the sci-fi elements are the worst part, and that's one of those things. The sci-fi comedy does not work in this. I'm sorry. That's an element. That's 100% element. Yours sets up what it wants to be. And you even said there's a great performance in Taylor Lautner. Congratulations. He pulled out a good performance. And it was in the Ridiculous Six.
Somewhat possible. He's a somewhat good performance wrapped around shit. So it makes it look better than what it is. But what I'm saying is that it's not about my taste. It's about everybody's taste. The Ridiculous Six has a whopping 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. So nobody likes this movie. It's not anything just against my taste and just your taste. I think that Pixels has fantastic visuals. Pac-Man going through the streets, Donkey Kong at the end, the Space Invaders. They're very good special effects in that movie. It's a disappointing movie, but it doesn't make it the worst movie. The Ridiculous Six is offensive, and it's terrible, and that's the worst.
And time. That's your 5 minutes, guys. All right, two very strong arguments about two very bad movies. So, Cody, we're going to go to you first for your closed arguments. We'll start your 60 seconds as soon as you begin.
I think the confusion for James is that he went into Ridiculous Six thinking it was going to be like an amazing comedy, but that's just not his type of humor. That humor hits for some people. Potty humor is literally comedians make a living on it. It's literally that kind of movie. So it's called Ridiculous Six, and you're telling me the movie was ridiculous. It seems like it hit what it needed to do. Pixels, on the other hand, the script is lazy. The special effects are bad. The character work does not have anything. They speed up the movie like 20 years, and you're supposed to believe this character development that they're best friends, but one became the president and the other one's working in like a Geek Squad thing. It doesn't work out at all. Like, why wouldn't you bring him in? Like, the whole overall movie and this plot and the comedy, the jokes don't land. It's kind of sexual. Like, Peter Dinklage, there is literally a threesome set up between Martha Stewart and Serena Williams that is not pleasant to see, think of, or even be around. Ridiculous Six, Taylor Lautner pulled out a great performance, so that's fantastic. And it's a ridiculous movie with ridiculous comedy. Sorry, James, you didn't laugh, but I bet there's some people out there really laughing.
And time. So, James, we'll let you finish this one up. Whenever you're ready, you got 60 seconds.
Look, Pixels is not a terrible movie. Pixels is a disappointing movie. It had potential that was unseen. The Ridiculous Six is a terrible movie. It's a bad movie. It's offensive. You have racist stereotypes. You have racist characters. You have Rob Schneider in brownface playing a Mexican person doing over-the-top racial stereotypes. It is the very bottom bar of what you could consider a comedy. I don't think that anybody has ever given a positive review to this movie. I've never seen one online. It's just insane that we're having an argument about my likes. Nobody likes this movie. I've seen plenty of people that really enjoy Pixels. I wasn't one of them, but I know a lot of people really, really enjoyed that movie. It has some really fantastic sequences. As a whole, it's not a great movie, but there's pieces in that movie that really, really work. The great visuals, fantastic special effects, but there's nothing in my movie that makes it even a redeeming quality. There's nothing good about it. You can't put one mark in the plus column. Everything is negative. There's plenty of pluses.
That's time. And let's go to our judges. Coho, we're going to start with you this time. Which way are you going to go?
Of course, you're going to be first on this one. Man. This was really, really good. Like, and that's a word that should never be said in the same sentence as Pixels or Ridiculous Six. But this was a good fight. Okay. I think James did a really good job of like defending why Pixels isn't terrible. But I think he kind of made a crucial misstep by giving Cody Taylor Lautner as something to throw back in his face, and he used that a lot. And I think Cody did a good job of picking on James's own words and kind of twisting them to make that Ridiculous Six might not be terrible. The Netflix point was actually really smart. So I think by the slimmest of margins, I'm going to lean Cody on this one.
All right, that is one for Cody and Pixels. Joe, you're second this time.
I'm going with James. I think James did a good job of. I think what really won it for me was when James brought up how Pixels was more of a disappointing movie than it was a terrible movie. And I think Cody, while he was able to try to bring back a little bit on that, it really didn't sell it for me. So with just being that, I think Cody was able to argue a more disappointing movie, but James was really selling why Ridiculous Six is just a terrible movie. So James is getting my point on this one.
All right, that's one vote for James. And Thomas, we're going to come to you to decide this one.
Powers in my hand here. First of all, I got to say, hate and resentment, I think, brings out the best in you two, because these were some two very strong arguments. I do agree with Coho that James kind of hurt yourself with the Taylor Lautner. You served him a big softball down the middle, and he kind of crushed you with that. I did really enjoy your points on how you thought Pixels was a more disappointing film. However, because Cody really hammered home on the point about how Pixel was an all-around failure, whereas The Ridiculous Six can really be seen as not someone's type of comedy, but the poo comedy can really be favorable to others. I don't know who out there would like that kind of comedy, but people do. By the slimmest of margins, it was a toss-up, but I'm going to go with Cody for the second point.
All right. So that is puts the score of Cody with 2 points and James with 0, but we still have a lot of fighting left to do. And we're going to move on to our third round question now. in the category of crime thriller, with The Irishman releasing on Netflix, what was the best De Niro and Scorsese collaboration? And James, we're going to go back to you to start with this one.
Oh,
It's Cody, isn't it?
me.
Is it okay, I'm sorry. Cody, we'll start
You
with you.
open last one.
Okay, we'll open with you, Cody, and you got 90 seconds whenever you begin.
Okay, so Scorsese and De Niro have done amazing work. Literally, probably the best actor director combo ever. I went with Raging Bull. Raging Bull. I think there are better De Niro performances solo in other movies, and I believe there may be other directing. But when you put these two together, that's the question. Combo, and there's no better than De Niro and Scorsese in Raging Bull. The movie, how it's shot, the acting performance of De Niro, it's insane across the board. There are missteps in each other one. That one's better than the other, but this one, I think they are literally parallel. I think they go hand in hand. You do not get this performance from De Niro if Scorsese's not directing it. You do not get this movie if Scorsese doesn't direct it. I 100% believe that. This movie is perfection. This movie is a true story. This movie is uncomfortable. This movie is hard to watch at times, but literally still the best boxing sequences in any movie. Fight me on that. I will tell you that right now. So yeah, I'm going Raging Bull.
All right, Raging Bull for Cody. And James, we'll go over to you. Your best Scorsese De Niro collaboration.
Yeah, you want to talk about Robert De Niro just really engulfed into a role, and Robert De Niro just completely putting a film on his back. And you could consider Raging Bull that, but I don't. I consider Taxi Driver to be that movie. Taxi Driver really established both De Niro and Scorsese as icons and about the top of their class. It put De Niro into the stratosphere of what the top actors of the day were. It wasn't one of his first roles, but it was the role that cemented him as a film star. And it's the movie that really cemented Scorsese as the next big thing in directing. He had already done Mean Streets and a couple other movies, but this is really the one that really just put him on the map as a dynamite filmmaker. And their collaboration in this movie, like Cody said with Raging Bull, you can easily say the same thing with Taxi Driver. A different director would not be able to get that performance out of De Niro, and a different actor in that role would not be able to elevate it to the level that it is with Scorsese as the director. It's a film about alienation, and it's a film about a character just completely just melting in front of your face and bringing you on with the ride. It's told completely through his perspective, and it puts the audience in his shoes. And it's not a fun journey, but it's a journey that's important, and it comes to the ultimate climax of violence that is just hard to watch, but it really hits you in your heart the entire way.
And time. All right, guys, I think this is it's safe to say this is the anti-Pixels Ridiculous Six argument. So we got to cleanse our palate here, talk about some good movies for once. And as soon as you guys are ready, you can start your 5-minute debate.
So I will say what Scorsese set up and put them in the forefront in 76, he mastered in 80. Literally came out with a superior directed film. I will say this, I just got done watching Taxi Driver. Literally, Bickle starts as a character and stays that same path. He just goes a little bit more into madness and goes crazy at the end. Plus, I think the direction really hurts that movie at the very end. That very end is a cheap ass ending of a movie that tries to redeem Bickle as a character that says, oh, maybe he's having a better life, where he has that flashback and then you already know the character's gone. It's a cheesy, over-the-top ending that ruins the gritty and hard to watch element of what Taxi Driver actually is.
No, you don't get the same character throughout. You get a character that is just falling into madness. You see him that he's a little unhinged at the beginning, and you see him become more and more and more unhinged as the film progresses. And that's what brings the audience in with him. It puts you in those shoes, and you're uncomfortable, and you get more uncomfortable and more and more and more until at the end you just have that huge shootout and everything, and it's just visceral, and it puts you into an uncomfortable place, and it keeps you there. Whereas in Raging Bull, you have this De Niro performance that everybody lauds, but there's so many people that really regard it as kind of an Oscar grab. And I'm one of those people. I don't think it is a fantastic performance. I think it's a very one-note performance from beginning to end with him, and he grunts and he curses through the entire movie, and that's all you really get. You don't get any sort of the character depth underneath. You don't get the raw emotion that you get in Taxi Driver.
So you get a character in mind that literally is at the top and then goes through this thing and thinks he's fine with everything. Like, he doesn't see the problem and why he loses everybody and pisses everybody off and makes them so uncomfortable and mad, hits his wife, beats up Joey, doesn't give a shit about anybody but himself. And then you see him at the end of the film completely stripped of everything, thinking he's still the man in town, and he's a piece of shit, basically. And you're talking about your guy. Sorry, I don't know what madness you're thinking Bickle goes through. Yes, he buys guns? That's the madness he goes into? No, he sits there, he stalks at people, and then he sits there and stalks at people, and he sits there and stalks at people, then he buys guns, then he tries to shoot somebody, then he goes into a gunfight to save the prostitute he met for the last hour of the film that drags that movie down. And then, at the end, after he's like, shoot me in the head, the girl that I stalked at the beginning of the film, that's who I want to see. And they try to tie the character like a redeeming quality. Mine's a personal story about a character. Yours is like a thing of Vietnam vets of the world that they have to live in when they come back from war. And it's a sign, and that's cool and all. But again, Scorsese's perfection in this movie, boxing movies today don't even look as good as what it does in Raging Bull. And that's from Scorsese's direction.
No, look, it's a vulnerable performance in Taxi Driver. And yes, you do see him progress and progress and progress. It's not the same character from beginning to end like you're alluding to. And the boxing scenes in Raging Bull are not that great. You see all these slow motion scenes with the gratuitous violence that's not realistic. His cinematography is good. It's really good, but it's over the top. It's so over the top, and it's too much. And it feels like it's so much style over substance because you have a one-note character throughout the entire film. You have De Niro just kind of, in his own little thing, grunting, but you don't get the hurt behind his eyes like you get in Taxi Driver. It's a much more vulnerable character in Taxi Driver. And De Niro's Jake just doesn't have any emotional complexity to him. In the same year, you got John Hurt with the Elephant Man in the David Lynch movie, and with all the prosthetics and the makeup on it, you're still able to get so much more emotion out of the performance than you get in De Niro's movie in Raging Bull.
Let's just cut the crap. The cool thing to say that's Oscar bait back then, Scorsese didn't even win this one for it, and that's what the still.
No, I was saying De Niro.
No, I'm saying this for the movie. This because the question is Scorsese and De Niro, and mine is that De Niro ruins Taxi Driver at the end, and Scorsese elevates my movie. You may not connect with the character. I think, James, again, this is not what you connect with. This is what the arguments are based on, and thusly people still revere as Raging Bull as one of the best movies of all time. The character development between him and Joey, and you're saying he runs the movie. That's what ruins Taxi Driver a lot, because it's just that isolation. And yes, but that turns a lot of people off to that film because he does not descend into madness. He starts mad and he continues mad. Like, there's never a redeeming quality besides that time that he shows some heart for Jodie Foster's character. But that's one of the slowest parts of the film. And then they touch on her for a short bit and then automatically go off into the lady that he's talked before.
That's our 5 minutes. Cody, you started that one. James, we're going to start with your closing arguments. Whenever you're ready, you got 60 seconds.
Look, Scorsese is able to capture the feeling of alienation in Taxi Driver. He's able to shoot this film in a way that De Niro is the complete subject of the movie. Whereas in Raging Bull, you get a lot of these little side plots with Joe Pesci, with Joey's character, and Joe Pesci puts on this amazing performance in this movie, where in Taxi Driver, the entire film is just on De Niro's back, and he carries it the entire way. Scorsese's direction in that film is fantastic. And you have one of the most iconic scenes of all time with their You Talking to Me scene. In Raging Bull, look, it's like I said, it's style over substance with the cinematography. It's beautiful, but it's used so much, and the boxing scenes are very unrealistic. It's not this visceral feeling that you get with a lot of really great boxing scenes. I would put the boxing scenes in Creed above the Raging Bull scenes any day. It feels so much like DiCaprio and Revenant. It feels like they were just trying to make a De Niro picture that would get him an Oscar, because he was robbed for even a nomination for Taxi Driver.
And time.
Performance.
That is your 60 seconds. And Cody, whenever ready, we'll start with you.
The hipster pick to say that it would be Oscar bait is just a stupid argument to make. Literally, it's shot for shot beautiful. And I think what makes it Scorsese from start to finish as a director of a movie. The problem is Taxi Driver starts really strong, fades off in the middle, and dies at the end because it's a terrible ending for that movie. And that makes a difference. Yes, Robert De Niro in both movies, amazing. We can both say it. They're both performance. But Scorsese versus Scorsese, I'm sorry, Taxi Driver is weaker than than Raging Bull. That's just a fact of life. They're still talked about as the biggest snub of him losing the Oscar for directing for this movie. He is literally one of the he changed the way that boxing movies are shot, and they still don't live up to the thing. The character of him is so visceral, where he has to fight with his wife, and he thinks he's fine and continues on. Yours just descends into madness to the entire movie. He stays mad. He doesn't change. He buys a gun, and yes, it has an iconic talking point, but that does not make it a fantastic movie. Mine is the best De Niro Scorsese combo. Yours is the best De Niro.
And time. All right, guys. Now we go to the judges. And Joe, we're starting with you this time.
I'm going to have to go with Cody on this one. I think Cody did a really good point of saying why it was a great De Niro Scorsese combo. I think James was able to sell a lot of what Robert De Niro was able to do with the role of Travis Bickle, but I didn't hear a lot of what Scorsese brought to that combo from him. So, and I just heard more from Cody on the combo itself. So I'm going to have to give it to Cody on this one.
All right, Thomas, your take.
I think Cody made a lot of strong points. Best of all was his thing where Jake LaMotta was completely in denial from start to finish. He talked about the ending that really elevated his argument. James really bashed the character development in Raging Bull, but without a whole lot of defense as to why his was better. He also used the famous cop out of it being Oscar bait a little too much. I think he relied on that way too heavily. And Cody was able to refute that very easily. He was able to refute that with Travis's sort of straight line character development throughout the whole movie. So I'm going to have to give this one to Cody here because he had stronger rebuttals, and I don't think James really had an answer for Cody's De Niro and Scorsese combo.
Okay, that's going to put Cody up at a score of 3-0 and in a 5-round match. That means your winner and still Movie Battleground Champion is Cody Newberry. All right, congratulations, Cody. Good game, guys. We're going to do post-match interviews now. And James, we'll go to you first. I know it's probably a little fresh. That was some rough going for you. Cody's a great fighter. You gave him a great match, but it was, I think all 3 rounds were close. But it just seems in the judges' eyes he had you a little bit every time. How are you feeling after that battle?
Oh, it's is what it is. I knew this was going to be a tough match with Cody. I think the judges were hung up on a couple of phrasings. When I said that Taylor Lautner was not bad, they thought that I'm saying he was good. I mean, Cody said I said that, but that's not what I said. And in the last one, I think I said Oscars twice, so I don't know how I was hitting on that too much, but it is what it is. Cody made some fantastic arguments. He's a fantastic fighter, so I knew it was going to be a tough one, and he pulled it out. So good for you, buddy. Congratulations. It's a hell of a match.
Thanks, man.
All right, let's go to our winner, our champion, Cody. Coming out of that, how you feeling? You retain the title. You moved to 5-0. How you feeling, and what's next for you?
7-0.
7-0. I'm sorry, I was looking at James's record. 7-0, and what's next for you? How you feeling after this fight?
I'm 7-0. I've only defended the belt twice, just to correct you from earlier. I had to fight a lot of matches to be able to get to the championship match. But yeah, I'm excited. There's a lot of new people coming up in the league that I'm really excited to take on. I really want to take on Caleb Boatman. That's one that I really had marked on my calendar before the whole Alex thing. I think he's very underrated as a fighter. He has so much knowledge that I would love to put it to the test. I think I have him in debate, but I think he has me by a mile in knowledge, so I'd have to prep really hard for that. Another match against Brooklyn would always be fun. Yeah, there's just so many good fighters coming up in the realms that I would love to take on. James, again, hats off to James. A lot of tough fights on that one. Arguably, I thought I lost Ridiculous 6, but again, that's why judges are here and I'm not. But I thought I lost it, so congratulations in my eyes. I think you won that one. But other than that, I think this is a great match. I'm just excited to see. I think there's a tournament coming, so I'll have to sit back and watch, and whoever wins that one. But yeah, I'm just ready for my next opponent whenever it is.
All right, thank you, Cody. Real quick, I'm going to go to my judges to get final thoughts from them. Caleb, I didn't get a chance to get your Taxi Driver, Raging Bull ideas there, so you can give those now. But overall, how are you thinking what do you think about this fight?
Good fight. I think overall, Cody did a really good job of on each fight finding ways to get James to kind of step in his own words, especially in Ridiculous 6 when he opened up and he said there's no redeeming qualities, and then said Taylor Lautner was all right, not terrible, and Cody just hammered him with that. And in Taxi Driver and Raging Bull, just how James never defended or give examples of why Robert De Niro's character isn't stagnant. So I think Cody was really good at being able to defend the points attacked at him, and James didn't really do that. So I think it was a solid fight, but I think Cody won it today.
Also, I just want to say this real fast. All the things I said about Taxi Driver, I do not believe, and I do not condone what I said on this match. So please do not come at me because it's an amazing movie. Bye.
Same thing about Raging Bull, by the way.
All right, Joe, your closing thoughts on this battle?
I'm kind of glad we didn't get to the next question because I was going to hammer
Yeah, this was a great match. Two great competitors. I think both they played their hearts out. I think James is a strong competitor, and someone someday will get Cody's number, but that day isn't coming soon from the looks of it.
All right, and Thomas, we'll let you close it out.
This was a great match. I don't think the result really shows how close it was, really, because I think for all three of these, it was super close, especially Pixels and Ridiculous 6. James did a phenomenal job. Just that I think this match really showed that you cannot give Cody an inch in Battleground. You cannot give him that slightest advantage that'll make him hammer you on your own points and make you step in your own way. And also makes him such a great competitor. So congrats to Cody. Apologies for the 5 defenses. My brain's been all scrambled all day. But yeah, James did a great job. Cody just did a little bit better, so he retains. But James, I think, will be back. He's a strong debater, and I think he'll be back for this title pretty soon.
Yeah, definitely. We got 3 great rounds out of both these guys. A great match, even though it was cut a little short. James, I think, definitely is going to be back, and we're going to see him, kicking butt. And Cody, of course, is going to be doing what he's doing. So that's our championship fight for the night, guys. Thank you for watching. For Cody, for James, for Caleb, Joe, and Thomas, I'm Kirk. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.